waiting patiently for the moment when the closers would stop shilling and start handing out the Disney discounts. But while we kids were in another room throwing Legos at one another, something surprising happened. My dad bit. He went into a closed room to get 3-day passes just so that I could eventually lose my glasses on Space Mountain. And he came out with a deed. The deed to something he and my mom were now calling our villa. My father is a bold man, but in retrospect, this is the most impetuous action that I have ever seen him take. It cost him about $5,000, which he paid in installments. In 1982, for a guy with 5 kids who never made more than $33,000 a year at his day job, it was a considerable investment. For those unfamiliar with timeshares, it may be hard to wrap your head around buying a vacation home that you never really own. You pay up front for it. There's an annual maintenance fee, but you only get to stay in it once a year or so, usually for a week at a time. It almost sounds like some sort of scam, and sometimes it is, but it didn't turn out that way for us. Instead, it became a fixture in my family. My father had chosen as our week the first week in July, and so every year, during one of the hottest months of the year, we would head down I-95 as always. But now, when we pulled into South Carolina to see relatives, that was only a pit stop on the way to our true destination. We had transformed from people who went away to a family who went on vacation. Our villa was number 317, a 2-bedroom apartment with an enclosed back porch that looked out onto a small man-made lake, complete with fish, ducks, and another summer word that I learned, gazebo. My brother chased cicadas and lizards. For my sister, the only swimmer among my siblings, there was a pool. There were tennis courts and bikes to rent. The general store even offered a collection of the latest movies on Laserdisc. That first trip, I was 8. As I got older, I moved from the gazebo to the game room, and then the gym, trying to meet other kids my age. My mom busied herself in the kitchen making lunches or sat by the lake and watched the ducks. My dad shepherded us through It's a Small World and Epcot Center. Our summers went on like this, pretty much exactly like this, probably until I finished high school. I honestly loved it. I looked forward to this trip every year, and even though it was only a week, it was almost always the highlight of my entire summer. But when I think about it now, it occurs to me, my dad pretty much orchestrated this thing that became so important to our lives, and I have no idea whether or not he ever enjoyed it himself. In fact, it didn't seem like he did. I can't recall actually seeing him happy. Neither does my brother. He says Dad was pretty much the same at the timeshare as he was at home. Sometimes he'd go for walks alone, but often he just sat on the couch and watched TV. I asked my sister. She said he must have been happy, but she doesn't remember witnessing it either. It seems like such a simple question, but I just wanted to know, did he enjoy himself? At the risk of embodying the most tired trope in all of modern masculinity, I will say my father and I never really got along. He was strict, his house had a lot of rules, and he believed in corporal punishment. And the sting of that conflict stayed with me as an adult. But since my mom passed away last year, I've been trying to connect with him more. I gave him a call.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
Hey, it's Neil.
Yes.
Is it a bad time?
It's about who?
Is it a bad time?
No. I was just playing solitaire, yeah. I didn't know whether it was the drugstore or not.
Are you waiting for a call from the drugstore?
No, they'll call. They'll give me a call no matter when it is.
My dad is 83 years old now and living alone in Florida. Talking to him can be awkward, and not just because his hearing is going. I asked him, point blank, if he liked going to the villa. He told me that when he was growing up, he barely ever left South Carolina.
I didn't know nothing about nothing else, like you saw things in magazines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I knew about a dentist, I was in the army. But I just thought it was a good idea that our kids see something other than their surroundings where they were born.
Yeah. My dad grew up poor on a farm, one of 12 children. He says he only finished high school because by the time he was old enough, he was the one driving the bus. Sometimes, when there were athletic events at other schools, he'd get to drive the teams and learn what the nearby towns were like. In 1953, he was drafted into the Army, which had only recently been integrated. They sent him to Colorado and Indiana, and it wasn't great. He says the Army was really not into black people back then. So those were his travel experiences when he was young. I was hearing a lot of this for the first time. And as it turns out, that's at least partially my own fault.
The reason why we never talked about it because it just wasn't the kind of thing that you guys seemed to be interested in.
Really? So we just didn't seem like we were interested as kids?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I probably wasn't so interested back then. Back when the two of us were constantly challenging each other. I was always either afraid of him or angry at him, hiding from him or planting my feet to confront him. It never crossed my mind to try to understand him. But nowadays, my dad feels to me like some kind of living cold case, a million-page brief that is no longer redacted. Maybe it's because I'm now at the age he was when I was born, but I retroactively find his every decision fascinating, even the ones that aren't so surprising on the surface. Why Florida?
It was advertising, you get to hear something about Florida, and then this thing, Disney World. After we started going, they built Epcot, they built Animal Kingdom, and they advertise them a lot.
Yeah.
And not many people who were going, we were probably the most vacationing people in our area,
Yeah.
I don't know of any other family that went on vacation every year. We did.
My dad was obviously proud that he'd gotten the timeshare, but pride, strictly speaking, does not constitute joy. It didn't answer the question of whether or not he was actually happy spending those summer weeks with us at the villa. Instead, he kept trying to make me understand why he brought us there in the first place. And his explanation, his reasoning, reached back to memories and past experiences that not only had I never heard, but that kind of blew my mind.
And I tell you, probably where I got the whole idea, when we were in school, every summer you had to try to think of something that you could write about when you go back to school, because you're going to have to write something about what you did this summer. Well, we never had anything to write about when I was going to school. And you didn't think flying a mule or picking peaches or stuff that you had to normally do, you didn't think that was so exciting to write about.
Yeah.
And so we made up lies about what we did. Well, every summer you guys went on vacation, you could write about something that you did or saw, or someplace you went.
Yeah. What did you do during the summers?
This year?
No, when you were in school.
Work. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
We talked for over an hour. It was one of the longest conversations that I can remember us ever having. Every now and then, I'd try to steer him back to the question I wanted him to answer. So I know I've asked you this a bunch of times. I keep asking you the same question. You can tell me to stop asking you if you want, but did you have fun yourself?
Yeah, I don't regret anything, because it looked to me like I was doing what I was supposed to do. And, and to see your kids happy was to be happy too. And you guys could always come in and do whatever it is and go back out to the pool or whatever. Mm-hmm. I remember, you guys playing out there and hanging around the bushes and stuff. I thought it was great.
That's a kind of enjoyment I hadn't considered. I lived more selfishly. Also, his answer was hard to take in, to reconcile with the distance I felt between us at the time, back when he would retire to the couch to watch TV, while we went off to play on our own. Maybe he was watching me play in the bushes and getting a kick out of it, but I didn't know that. Still, I was happy at the villa, and my dad says he was too. I'm glad I know that. All right, so I've been talking to you for an hour. I should probably let you go, but hey, is it okay, like, if I call back this week and just talk? I want to hear, like, more stuff, since I didn't seem interested when I was a kid. I didn't realize that was why you didn't tell us stuff. So now I'll just ask. Is that okay if I could?
The only thing I do is just get up, and sometimes I'm outside just walking around. Sometimes I sit down, which sometimes I go ride the bike. And I do this just to keep busy, you know, like, you can call me anytime, man.
All right, I'm going to go back to work.
Okay.
Bye, Dad.
Bye.
Neil Drumming, who's a producer on our show. Neil has just released an album. I'm a fan. It's called Writing on Airplanes. It was a song about his dad. You can find the album Writing on Airplanes on most streaming platforms.